Hello, our users. My name is John Kulas. I'm not a dirty robot. However, I did pull a dirty trick because this is the first week that I have intentionally used a song that we've previously used as the intro music to the week's session here. I think I'm gonna keep doing that when there are AI themes. I don't know. Dirty Robot is just such a perfect song, an introduction to doing AI related stuff. It makes me laugh. So if it makes me laugh, then I'm probably going to keep doing it unless someone sends me a song that's better for AI. But I don't know. I suspect that there is no better song to introduce AI topics than Dirty Robot by Arling and Cameron. I think that is who that is. Some 90s, early 90s kind of British duo kind of thing. Hello. That's a long way of saying I'm not going to do my normal intro. The reason that we're here is each week we're here to promote this way of structuring your quantitative work such that you do that enveloped within documentation and communication. And so instead of operating as though your analytical component is distinct and unique from the prose or write-up component or summary component of your project, we just execute them all within the same environment. So we don't go back and forth between R or RStudio or Positron or Jupyter Lab in Word or PowerPoint or whatever your most comfortable platform is to actually summarize and present stuff. We don't do that. We just execute everything from within our analytical environment. And so we refer to this as just being consistent with this principle of literate programming, but we also call it single platform project execution. And so there's so many tools right now that help pull this off that I think it's really important that people are aware of it. And so we we each week are here just to promote that. And we're here live so we can make mistakes and people can see that. And so also so people can ask questions. If you stumble across this and have a question about structuring your work this way, we're here to answer those questions. In the absence of questions, this shared problem solving that is implicating questions or implicating the process of asking and answering questions, what we do is we actually also take a look at a focused capability using these work processes. And tonight we're going to take a look at, tonight we're going to build an application from scratch. I think what we'll do, unless someone pops in and has a different idea or wants to see something different, I think what we'll probably build is a dashboard. It's the most straightforward thing to do with a user interactive component such that the person interacting with the dashboard can make some inputs or make some selections, and then there's a reactive dashboard element to it. So the dashboard will read the input and then spit out some output that's specific to that input. Okay, so before we get to that, we will take a look at what happened last week, because each week when we cover these topics, it's done in a non-linear, open-ended fashion. Each subsequent week, we will try to present what happened last week in a more easily digestible format. I'm so incredibly tired tonight. You may be picking up on that. So sorry for the lethargy if there's some of that, but I'll see if I can shake that off here in a little bit. All right, let's get our transition into what happened last week.
Well, Bullwinkle has been having a wonderful time with that trunk full of Confederate money he found. He's been sailing paper airplanes made of $50 bills, even cutting out paper dolls of $10 each. Little does he know that it isn't Confederate money at all, but real United States currency stolen from the town bank.
Boy, look at that one go!
Rocky has been searching for him frantically and finally resorts to using a Frostbite Falls Mother Moose call. The sound of it reached Bullwinkle as he was flying a kite made of $100 bills.
Coming, Mother!
But when Rocky blew again, It wasn't Bullwinkle who showed up at all.
You call?
Hokey Smoke, who are you?
Allow me to introduce myself. Honey Child Moose Moss from way below the Moose and Dixon lines.
Gee, welcome to Minnesota, Miss Moose Moss.
Rocky behaved like a little gentleman, but Honey Child didn't act like a lady at all. Fortunately, she was stopped by a strange sound.
Well, howdy do.
Bullwinkle, it's you! Did you find the bank robbers and the money?
How about introducing me to your bank robbers?
there, there was some bonus audio there that apparently picked up on the lounge music that I was listening to this afternoon as I was frantically putting the slides together because I hadn't really done much with them prior to this afternoon. Last week, last week you may recall, or you may have noticed if you stopped by last week, I wasn't here. I was actually away. And that's part of the reason I think I'm so tired here yet tonight. But that also means that I was kind of rushing a little bit when I was putting this stuff together today. So apparently I didn't vet it, so I didn't look at it. But apparently this week's transition had a little background music in it. So last week we took a look at Distill, and Distill I'm referring to here as a legacy R package. It's within the old R Markdown ecosystem, and if you recall, when I first started using these work processes, there was a different helper package for each different product type that you wanted to create. So for example, the presentation slides that I grew to really appreciate and like were from a package called Jeringen. Websites, I still use this package for a website, but the websites, there were different ways to do it, but a very popular package for websites was markdown. To write APA formatted papers, there's a package called Papaja. So there's different packages for different end products. Distill is within that kind of system. So Distill is a package within that kind of ecosystem of, hey, we're going to have a kind of focused output type that this package is really centered on and is going to take care of. And so what Distill does, it's still there. I say it's a legacy R package just because primarily the software that we're using, the software that you're looking at here in terms of the slides that we're using. By the way, the slides are available in the comments. If you want to take a look at them, please do. I like putting them together, but they also have hidden hyperlinks throughout them that I don't always engage with as I'm discussing whatever it is that's spewing out of my mouth at any given moment. So I don't always engage with all those hyperlinks, but they're there for other people who might find them useful if they're interested in these topics. And so Distill is a package that produces really neat looking nicely formatted articles and websites and blogs as well. I think the primary focus initially, I believe, was on article formats. And so it looks like Distill was kind of, and I mentioned this last week, but I'm particularly fond of this because the philosophy is very much consistent with the philosophy that I have or a thought, I guess, that I have, that the way in which scientific and technical information is presented and consumed most frequently, is not much different than how it has been packaged and consumed for the last, 100 or so years. And that is in kind of a static format. Traditionally, it's just going to be a journal article, so it's going to be text presented on paper. Increasingly, obviously, that we don't limit ourselves to paper-based hard copies of things. That there are online versions or computerized versions as well, but oftentimes those are just electronic versions of the paper. So PDFs are very, very popular and common to convey this sort of information. And so Distill says, well, yeah, that's traditional and that serves a purpose, but we now also have available to us all these tools and all these neat capabilities, and maybe we should take advantage of those. And so the Distill package really takes scientific and technical communication and it's trying to encourage, I believe, or trying to facilitate anyway, the presentation and kind of packaging of that in a format that's more dynamic and it's more suitable and receptive to some of the capabilities that we have now with these analytical platforms. So interactive graphs and just color and all kinds of color. Believe it or not, color is a big thing. But all kinds of neat presentation capabilities. And so it really does have this really kind of slick format and styling to it just on its default form. There's different themes that you can apply to Distill articles and blogs and websites as well. So these are the main three categories of product types that I see within Distill, and I'm not a Distill expert. I had heard about this for years and years and years, but I've never created a product with Distill other than what we did last week. And last week we just kind of did a little bit of fooling around. Now, I think it does produce very nice looking articles in HTML format. I do also think that it does a great job with websites. And there is a subcategory of website that I kind of chuckled when I came across it because you don't hear about this as much anymore. But 15, 20 years ago, blogs were just a massively popular way of kind of communicating information, usually focused on a central topic, on a specific topic. I don't hear people mention blogs much anymore. They're still out there. I know that they exist, but I don't know that they're as popular of a format to convey information. Now, Substack is very popular, I believe, for something like this, and maybe that's where these people have gone. But if I were to create a blog, if I were to use a blog, I think I would probably go to Distill, this package. So if I was going to create an article or a website, currently I would use Quarto, the software that that we've been relying on that makes these slides, like I said, and many, many other things. Tonight we're going to make a dashboard unless someone pops in and wants to do something else, but we'll make that dashboard within Quarto as well. So most everything I do now, my default is to just go to Quarto. But blogs are something that I don't think Quarto has really put a lot of support effort behind, or at least I haven't seen a lot of communication about blogs, and maybe that's consistent with this. Maybe people just don't use blogs anymore. But I thought that looking at kind of the organization here of the Distill team's work on blogs and how to organize them and how to kind of structure your kind of growing list of contributions to the blog, I just thought it was really slick and well thought out. And so I think if I were to create a blog, I probably would go to Distill. Kind of like on one of my websites, I still utilize the old R Markdown structure. I'm using Blogdown for that particular site. Now, I don't have a great preference for Quarto over Blogdown for websites, but I do, just given what I see in terms of the attention given to blogs with the Distill team, I think this is a package that I would prefer over Quarto if I was going to create a new blog. So that was kind of surprising to me that I came, and it shouldn't be, because there are legacy or older or traditional ways of structuring your scripting and your markdown that are perfectly fine, and they have a legacy of use and evolution as well. And so it shouldn't be surprising that there are markdown packages that I might prefer over Quarto. It struck me as surprising because I've been so impressed with Quarto, and I really enjoy working with Quarto. Okay. So today we're going to do more Quarto stuff. So today we're going to see if AI can help us build an app, and we're just going to do that from scratch. Now, this is something I have no expertise in. I'm really learning about this on the fly. I think I'm in a similar boat to many, many, many people. I do have some colleagues who I know are much more embedded within this world, so they're doing coding every day with AI agents, and it's fully integrated into their work. I'm not that person. I kind of reluctantly use AI as a souped up Google, and that's how I've been using it. However, there have been times where I've wanted to rely on it a little more in terms of an entire build of a project. A few weeks ago, we talked about callouts and customizing callouts, and so I have an extension, a Quarto extension, that facilitates the creation of a highly stylized custom callout. It's a particular object within Quarto documents, and I had to rely on AI very, very, very strongly for that because the way in which that's executed is through Lua, and that's a language that I don't know. But I was able to actually pull it off without a ton of trouble with the assistance of AI. So AI helped a lot with that, and I'm going to show tonight kind of we're going to parallel the process I used to create that extension to just build an app from scratch. And so there are a number of different ways you can do this. There's one of the reasons it's important to acknowledge that I'm not an expert here is because the language that's used, the terms that are used by people that are in this a lot deeper than I am, are different and more technical than what I'm using. So when I say standalones, integrated, and hybrid, those are just categories that help me kind of organize this stuff, but they're not going to mean anything to other people. So these aren't well accepted terms. But in terms of standalones, so this is the way that AI first helped with coding is there would be copying and pasting. So you would have a conversational AI, and some of the popular ones are listed here. Of course, this isn't exhaustive. These are just some ones that I have used. So Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, those are standalone AIs that have parent companies that are working on them, building them, and own them. But you can go to these if largely if you have a subscription. Many of them, most of them probably have free accounts as well. But you go to them and you just query, you type in a prompt or a query and you say, hey, what about this? And it spits you out an answer. If your query is code relevant and the answer it spits out, it's going to be a code bit. So you take that and you paste it into your IDE and then you run it there and then you go back and say, no, that didn't work. Can you do this? And so that's an option. So if we're having AI help us build an app, we could use just one of those standalone agents and go back and forth. And I've done that. It's not the most efficient way to do this. One of the ways that's more efficient is to use what I call an integrated solution. And I'm not sure again that this is the proper terminology. I'm going to the next page here because I did have one of the AIs kind of organize this for me because I knew I wasn't using the proper language, but actually it did spit out kind of a similar category. It did say IDE integrated. And so this is where the AI has some presence within your scripting environment. Now, I use within RStudio. RStudio is the IDE that I tend to prefer, and it's the one that I'm in most frequently. Funny enough, the one that I'm in second most frequently right now is Jupyter Lab. I'm really enjoying that environment. But within RStudio or Positron, the kind of next generation RStudio, within RStudio or Positron, you can enable GitHub Copilot, and GitHub Copilot is going to make completion suggestions for you, and there's a number of different ways that you can have this set up. I currently have GitHub Copilot turned off because it's annoying to me. The way that I use RStudio is to build documents and presentations and reports more so than just to do analyses. Now, if this was me 15 years ago, I would probably have GitHub Copilot turned on in my RStudio environment because I was only doing analytical things 15 years ago, 12 years ago. I think I started about 12 years ago using R. But now I don't do that. I probably write in RStudio more than I do analyses at this point. So GitHub Copilot is just it is not helpful for me for the way that I use RStudio. Now there's links on here too that you can find out about each of these solutions and each of these products. There's also the parent company of Posit has enabled, in addition to saying, hey, if you want to use GitHub's AI through our IDE, you can do that. Posit, the parent company that gives us Positron and RStudio, they also have their own assistant, and that's called Posit Assistant. And you can access Posit Assistant for all of these have fee-based access, but I believe that both GitHub Copilot and Posit Assistant have free trial kind of trial accounts as well. Maybe trial isn't the proper thing, but limited accounts. So the free ones are going to limit the number of queries that you can have. So the paid ones are going to do that as well, depending on the tier of payment. And then, so Posit, this new IDE called Positron, it's actually a fork. It's a version of a very popular IDE called VS Code. And VS Code, I believe, currently, I don't know if it was developed initially, but I believe currently it's a Microsoft product. But so Positron is a deviation fork or version initially of VS Code. Cursor is another IDE that's very popular right now, and that was similarly formed. So the origin is shared there. So that also came from VS Code, but that has its own AI agent just called Cursor AI. And then there's, I don't know if I should have taken this off or not, but when we first started playing with VS Code and Positron, we stumbled across a integrated AI called SuperMaven, and I was super impressed with SuperMaven. Shortly after we first came across it and started playing with it, they also got bought out. So SuperMaven still exists, but I believe it might be integrated. It might have some similarity or redundancy with Cursor AI in particular. It's tough following all this stuff for someone that's not in it and is just kind of standing on the periphery. One obvious thing here with all of these options is that they're changing. I will say the one kind of human reaction that I've had when I'm asking AI to help me build something is that it's helpful to have multiple. It's helpful to have a few different options because of the hallucination, because of the I don't know, just I think it's a mental set. So I think AI gets caught in mental sets, which is just a way of thinking, and they can't really think outside of that focus. So it almost has a set of blinders on, and it's helpful to get a different perspective from a different AI. So for example, the two that I'm using most frequently right now that I'm going back and forth between are Grok and GitHub Copilot. We'll probably do that a little bit tonight. But SuperMaven was certainly something that was helpful, and I can't speak to its current relevance or even if it's any different than Cursor AI or if it's the same doggone thing at this point. Okay, so you can use a standalone AI and copy and paste back and forth. You can use an integrated, which means that you're probably not copying and pasting, but you have some level of access within your scripting environment. And then and nobody calls it hybrid. I don't even know if I should call it hybrid. I only left hybrid in there because my little picture of Rosie up there on the right kind of fit well with that 6-letter word. So that's the meaning of hybrid. That's the reason hybrid is on there, not because it has any meaningful. It doesn't have any meaning. So it's a bad word to have for this category. But other than standalone and integrated, there are other options. And so one of the other options, I think we're probably going to do this tonight, because I did have, so someone did say, hey, that'd be kind of neat to see. And so I think we're going to do this. And then if there is interest, if anyone stumbles across this and wants to know some comparison and contrasting, like, I'm willing to build something else using one of these other approaches too. So we can do that in subsequent weeks if anyone drops me a note and says, yeah, I'd like to see that. But one alternative approach is to use that same GitHub Copilot, the same AI that we're talking about here on the integrated solution. But instead of using it within the IDE, we can use it within the GitHub platform itself. And so GitHub is 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 something that I've grown to appreciate and use, and I use it in almost all of my projects. So it's a initially I think it was for developers. Increasingly, it's for scientists as well. Probably was always for scientists, but my introduction to it was, oh, this looks like it's very computery. It looks like it's very software development-y, and it didn't feel very academic to me. Well, now that I was a professor for a long, 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 long time. Now that I've been using GitHub for a long, 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 long time, I understand that I should have had a broader kind of perspective on it. But it's organized by repositories, and those repositories are like project folders. So they hold all the information that's relevant for whatever it is that you're trying to build. And so what GitHub Copilot has access to within GitHub itself is it can see your entire repository, and it can see what you're doing, and it knows broader context of everything that's going on there. And so I think we'll see what that's like when we're operating within GitHub itself instead of our scripting environment. One caveat here: when people see the name Copilot, they think of the Microsoft Office and whatever the Microsoft Office suite Copilot. And so it does share the name, but it's a differently aligned, differently oriented AI. So this one, GitHub Copilot, is more optimized toward code and code completion and the execution of code. And it doesn't really matter what language. It's fine in R, it's fine in Python, it's fine in Lua, as I found out a few weeks ago. So we're gonna probably do that. And then there are also some kind of accessibility assistance that you can have within RStudio or Positron. And so GPT Studio and GPT Tools are two packages. There actually are packages. But if you load those packages, there's going to be some helper functions in terms of how you integrate with and access whatever AI it is that you're interested in. So it says GPT here, but the apps themselves don't really care what AI you use. If we take a look here, these are all available models that you could use within your scripting environment. So you have, again, the parent company is on the left, so you'll see Anthropic, whereas someone like myself would probably talk about Claude as the AI agent or model. There's a parent company there that it's associated with as well. Same with GPT or Chat GPT. You have the parent company's OpenAI is the one that I'm aware of that's in charge of or kind of controlling, hopefully, GPT. Okay, so and again, that's not exhaustive. Those are just kind of my way of organizing how I think about AI assisting what I want to do, which is to build products. So this is, again, a table that one of the AIs came up with and gave me. It was actually Grok. And if you want to know the full context, I did put a hyperlink here. So the hyperlink on the bottom is going to take you to a PDF of exactly what it said. And that PDF was rendered via Quarto within Jupyter Lab, and I did it as a typist document. And I did notice that sometimes this happens with PDFs and typist documents, is the bulleting, what are supposed to be bullets, don't always come through as bullets. And so, sorry about that. That was something that happened. Okay, Let's build an app. So the app that I was thinking about building was a capability that a friend of mine and I have been kind of chatting about. I don't fully, honestly, I don't fully understand the vision that he has at this point for the capability that he wants to build. So what we decided to do was we decided to kind of start small and then just scale up from there. So I want to make something that I can show my friend and the friend can say, "Oh, okay, this needs to do that and this needs to do that." And so we just need something. We need something to start with. So the broader kind of context within this is geocoding. I think it's called geocoding, and so it's going to involve maps, and it's going to involve the user finding a location on a map and then interacting with that and then getting some feedback about that location on the map. It just very broadly, that's what we want to do. So that's all I want to do tonight. Is tonight I want to start from nothing, and I want to build an app that actually just, I have this written down. Let me look at it. We'll have the user type an address, the map display the address, and then information is shown about the address, and we want to do this in a visual manner. So those three things are what we're trying to do tonight. And again, there's multiple ways to do this. I think we will access this through GitHub itself. I think I'm going to create a new repository. However, let me look and see. I might have already created one. Let me look at my timeline here, see if it says I created one. I started to do this. I started to do this. Where the heck am I? Where's my profile? I started to do this a few weeks ago. Voluntary turnover, dissertate. That's not it. Call up PNG live stream. I thought, okay, maybe I didn't. Tommy Boy, that's probably it. It's my friend's name that wants to do this. His name's Tom. So, yep. So there's an empty repository. So I think we'll operate from within here. So this is the repository that has nothing in it right now. It's public. If anyone's out there and you want to navigate to it, you can go and you can see it. The URL is up here. It's just /JT Kulas /Tommy Boy. And so within this repository, I want to see if I can create an app, and I think we'll do a Quarto dashboard is the best way I think to do this. Now within GitHub, the Copilot access is given through this little kind of cartoonish looking guy here, which is good for me because I kind of like cartoons. Really like cartoons, actually. Like cartoons quite a bit.
What?
Yes, I like them quite a bit. You know, I gotta check and see. So I screwed up on the Rocky and Bullwinkle transition this week because it had my background lounge music on, and the Skeletor what also has some background music, and I was assuming it was from He-Man, but I'm going to have to go back and look. Just water. I guarantee, just water. I'm just tired. That's all. That's why I'm stumbling and bumbling and fumbling a little bit tonight. But I'm going to have to go back and look and see if there's a version of Skeletor saying, "What?" That doesn't have that music in the background. All right, so the GitHub Copilot is right there. And you can see that I'm just going to call him he, sorry. But he already, and he's obviously not a he, but I don't know. I'm just going to call him he. No, I'm self-conscious about it. Copilot can see my repository, and there's some queries in here that are being suggested, and these are probably just, I guess I'm not sure. But there's nothing in here, so there's no, if it were to give me a high-level overview of this repo, great. It would just probably say, all it could say was the name. I didn't even put a description in here in terms of what this repo is. Yeah, there's no description, there's no anything. There's no initial commit, there's nothing. So there's nothing in there to actually talk about. And obviously some of this is just kind of a boilerplate for for this AI because there aren't 3 last pull requests in this repo or merged pull requests. So I am going to, and you can see here within my queries, I can, so if I weren't within the repo, I could, even if I'm in the repo, I can choose the other projects that I've been active on in terms of asking a question about that, and it should have access to it, and it should be able to see what's currently going on and make suggestions in terms of changes. But I do want, oops, didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay within here. Well, now I screwed it up. How did I do that? One thing, one thing I do want to mention here that's going to be relevant is I do have an educator access to GitHub Copilot. Thank you, Dr. Stahusky, for recommending that. But that means that I'm going to be somewhat limited, and so I don't want to just waste these queries because I have a limited number of queries, and that's also going to become relevant in terms of the answers that it's providing us. So one of the things I'm not so keen on with GitHub Copilot is it the way in which it structures answers is it's going to give us a lot of suggestions, and it's going to want us to confirm each of those suggestions. And each of those confirmations is a query that's counted against me. So it's really easy to burn through here. But let's see if we can. I'm just going to write down the 3 things that I want here, and then we will kind of edit that prompt from there. So I'm going to say I would like to build a Quarto dashboard powered by R. And again, that's me because I want whatever analytical code there is, I want it to be in R because I'm comfortable in R. It's going to be easiest for me to go in there and change it and tweak it and do whatever I want if it's written in R. I would like to build a Quarto dashboard powered by R that has 3 primary functions. Number one, I don't know how AI prefers us to structure this, but number 1, user types an address. We'll say United States address. No, I guess we don't need to do that. Number 2, a map displays the address. And number 3, data is shown about the address. And again, this is a bare bones skeleton of a capability that maybe we'll build into something. Now I do want to add a couple caveats here. So I did get started on this. I did do a little work on this previously. So I do have a census data API key, and I want them to know that because I think that's probably where we're going to pull data in about the address. We can from that. I do have a US Census API key if we go that route for I'm a terrible prompt engineer. If we go that route for the address data. And then I probably don't want to give it too much more. I'm tempted to say don't have me confirm everything before we actually execute it. But I'm not going to do that. So I would like to build a Quarto dashboard powered by R that has 3 primary functions. 1, the user types address. 2, a map displays the address. And 3, data is shown about that address. I do have a US Census API key if we go that route for the address data. But I am open to alternatives. Please provide all QMD. Please provide all code necessary to execute this dashboard. So let's try that. Again, it's not perfect, but we'll let it think. While it's thinking, what can I play here? We'll see if we fail to launch. And it's still thinking. So it's gonna, if you look at my slides, one of the AI tables I'm sorry, the table at the very end of the slides, the penultimate page, second to last page on the slide, that presents a table that an AI generated. One of the capabilities, one of the features that it actually chose to highlight was speed, and so that's not something that's ever really been of a concern to me. Nothing I do anymore has all that much pressure promptness to it. It's just kind of, I don't know. I very rarely feel, I'm sorry, I know I'm gonna alienate myself with people here, but I don't really feel a lot of pressure to get stuff done in a timely manner. And I'm sorry for everyone that has, because I know that's not typical. But okay. Yes, below I provide a complete Quarto plus our Shiny dashboard. So that, yeah, I didn't mention Shiny, but if it's going to be interactive, that's kind of the standard way to pull this off. You can drop into a project and run. So okay, I was thinking that it would put it in the repo for us, but I didn't ask it to do that, so it makes sense that it didn't do that. It lets a user type an address, shows the address on a map, and displays census ACS data. ACS is the American Census Survey, I think. I'll have to look. Let's look that up. Okay. Let's not look that up right now. For the census tract containing that address, I use the U.S. Census Geocoding API for geocoding and Tidy Census for ACS data, because you mentioned you have a Census API key. I was assuming we're going to go with a leaflet map. I'm not sure. It looks like I don't think that's been determined yet, so maybe we still will. What I'm delivering, a Quarto document, index.qmd. So index is important. If you've watched this session over the weeks, index files are expected for home pages on hosted products. So if we're going to share this, and I intend to share it tonight yet, it's going to be helpful that the actual source file is called index. That's not meaningless. That's actually meaningful. So Quarto document index.qmd with a Shiny runtime that implements the UI and server, help or R script with functions to call the census geocoder and fetch ACS variables. Again, so there's terms in here that I'm not super familiar with that are these terms are actually census data related, so it's my own fault for mentioning the key. But we are going to have to look up ACS. I thought that was the actual survey, the American Census Survey. That doesn't sound right. Believe it or not, I've actually dealt with this data before. It's just I deal with a lot of survey data, so I kind of tend to forget acronyms. A minimal Quarto YAML and README with run instructions and package install steps. Thank you. Instructions to set your API key. That's good because this isn't something I do all that frequently. So this is not what I intended to show. I was intending to not copy and paste back and forth. I was intending it to create these files and put them in the repo for us. So I think I will do that. So I'm going to say I'm going to waste a prompt by doing this, but let's just go ahead and do it. And yeah, because some of the code here, it's organizing by what it is. We don't need that. We just want it to build it for us. Well, there's quite a bit there. Again, this isn't something that I would consider to be massively complex, but it did did give me a lot. Let's see if we can have it put all these files in the repo for us. And this is where I think it's going to have us confirm. So anytime, and I'm only doing, if I were just doing this by myself, I would take and copy those individual bits of code and paste them into my own local IDE. But just for instructive purposes, I think it would be nice to see how GitHub Copilot can populate your repo for you. We are in the repo. I'm interested in populating. Can you create each, and then it's going to do a commit state. It's going to do a commit for these as well. So it's going to go through the full kind of the full normal population process. Can you create each necessary file and populate within this repo? And then I'm going to put the name of it. It's actually JT Kulas. That's me, by the way. Hi, Tommy boy. We're in the repo, and again, I want to be a little cautious here of how inefficient I'm being with this, because I don't have a massive amount of prompts to waste. I don't know how many I actually have. It'll give me a warning when I'm close to using too many. It'll say you're close to your limit, and then wag its finger a little bit, or I assume it's. See, here's the. This is gonna be. This is what's. I don't want a new branch. That's okay. We'll get a new branch. But every time I allow it to do something, that is counting as a query, and that's kind of that's something I'm not so keen on. Now, if I mean, it's got to operate the way it operates, and it does a great job. But let's read this before I just allow it. I'll create a new branch. Okay, I don't want you to, but and add the 4 files. Index QMD are helpers. Is that what it's going to call it? No, it's going to, okay. So it's going to make a directory called R, and then within that R directory, it's going to have a script file called helpers.r. And my Quarto YAML, again, with these bigger projects that have multiple components, might have multiple pages on them, or in this case has a helpers page as well, a helper script as well as a source local QMD. Moving the moving the YAML specifications outside of a single document is helpful to kind of oversee the entire project. So that makes sense. The README we don't really care about. That's fine. That's helpful, but that's going to help other people that stumble across our repo. In a single commit, yes, that's kind of what I want. I'll create the branch first, then push the files. I'm skeptical because I think you're going to still ask me if I'm okay. I'm waiting for your confirmation to proceed. Please accept the prompt. Yes, okay, so we'll do that. And I'll waste one of my prompts. But I'm doing it for you, good people. Let's see, what do we have here while we wait? Still thinking. This is what Copilot is doing right now. Still thinking. What else can I do here to entertain you? Oh, there we go. Let's see. Yeah, it's so this is what I was kind of referring to, is each of these are going to waste a prompt now. So it said it was going to go ahead and make a single commit and push, but before it does that, oh, okay, it grouped them. That's helpful. So it actually grouped them into one, hey, can I do this? Previously, when I've gone through this process, it has asked me for each individual file if I'm okay with it. Now, I don't, okay, the Quarto YAML has got really not much in it, but if we wanted to change stylings or anything like that, we could go in there and do that. The README, again, I don't care about, but let's go ahead and allow that. So it took what it previously recommended in terms of what it was expecting me to copy and paste, and took away some of the context of that. So we had bulleted numbering and things like that. Okay, so this is more. This is a little more than I expected to get. So let's take a look here. I added the Quarto Shiny dashboard into your repository. Thank you, Copilot. That's what I wanted. On the main branch, I thought he lied. It lied. It said it was going to create a new branch. I don't know if that's hallucinating or what, but maybe it heard me. I said, nah, I don't want a branch. I don't think it heard me. What it added, okay, I'm familiar enough with Quarto to kind of get it. Commit message, so add Quarto Shiny dashboard. So let's, there's a URL for the commit. So we know if I go and refresh my URL, if I go and refresh my repo now, we should have content in there. Notes and next steps to run it locally. Yes, this is what we want. I already have OR. I already have Quarto. It might need some packages. So, okay. So there we might stall on something here. If so, because of the time, this might run into next week if we get something that stalls and it requires specific libraries that aren't going to be available from within R. So these, I'm not sure if they're available from within R or not. The other nice thing I like about GitHub Copilot is it will keep a record of all of this. So if I were interacting with a different AI, I would probably be tempted to take and copy this and paste it somewhere that I have access to. I'm guessing that these are outside of R because it's giving me the actual package installations for the other ones I need. It looks like the one that might be a stickler for us is SF, so we might have to do a little exploration into that. I think I've used SF before, but I don't recall exactly what it is. So let me see. Let's see if we have it. We do have it. Simple features for R. All right, that's not what I thought it was going to be. Simple features. That's just downright silly. We'll see if we're already connected to Tommy Boy. We are. So even though there's no content, I wonder if I have content here locally. If so, I'm going to have to get rid of it. So it looks like I was playing with something here. I think I'm just going to nuke that. I think what we will do, what do I want to do about this? Yeah, let's nuke it. Oh, I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to leave it. Okay, so set your API key. Yes, this is something we're going to have to do. And it looks like I should just be able to do it once. So, oh, that'll set in my R environment. Okay, yeah, so we should just have to do that once. So let me copy that. I'm going to paste it into my console. And we'll load the library first. And then we'll do the key. And I'm going to take this off screen just because I have my key. I don't think there's a big security issue there in terms of other people accessing it, but it does. They do want it just per person. They're probably gonna, I would imagine, maybe if they can, maybe they're gonna track who's accessing and using it. Okay, so I did that. So now it says it's been stored in my environment and can be accessed by sys.getenv. So I'm guessing that's a function from tidy census. Okay, so I'm going to close out of RStudio and then we'll pop back in. And again, this is something that's just specific to my request to present some data, some information from about the address itself. So I did that. I did that off screen. Run the app. Okay, so we're gonna try that. We're gonna be in our studio, so that it uses the U.S. Census geocoder. I'm gonna leave this open just in case. I'm gonna leave it open just in case we need to go back there. I'm not expecting this to work exactly as intended, straight off the fly here. But let's enter the repo again, and I am going to pull from that repo that it looks like maybe we're not connected to. I wonder if I had two Tommy boys. So I'm going to go to the repo itself, and now you can see if I can minimize this without. There we go. You can see now there's content in here, so it did create a folder, and within that folder should just be that one script file. But I want to go to the repo itself so I can copy the code. And by the way, this is public. Anyone else can access this and do the same thing we're doing. Then I'm going to go in our studio, and we'll create a new connection here. Hopefully, I don't know, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go new project, and version control git, and then probably going to have to call it something different because I don't know where that other Tommy boy is actually located. So let's put it in a different location just to be safe. So I'm going to put it in a spot where I know I have other stuff that I can come back to at some later point in time if I need to. Our environment should be okay across different repos, so that's actually okay. And there we go. So we have all information pulled. The initial pull was done for us. Now we can open the index.qmd, and it does want a package right away, so I'm just going to install that. Other packages, at least from the initial RStudio read, didn't come up and trigger in terms of us not having them locally. It's giving us here the option to do those if we find that we're actually missing one. These all should be on my system because this is what should be read when RStudio comes back and says, hey, you don't have this package. Okay, let's just see if we can render it. The other thing we can do with the AI is if this doesn't give us, if it fails to render, then we should be able to give it an error message and let it know what's going on. Hey, it gave us something. So we're going to have to set echo to false. We don't want all that echoing, but look at that. What is this? So it's doing a lot of thinking. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Is that the White House? Now it's doing an awful lot of thinking. And I don't know if that's my machine or if that's something in the script itself, but I am not familiar with this mapping system. So what is it using? Let's take a look. I see leaflet in there, but that thinking, unless something new is with Shiny, I haven't seen that thinking bar before. So I haven't seen this. What is that? I don't know. Like a xylophone thing. Let's see what it's actually using. Render leaflet. Okay. It's possible that, no, it shouldn't be. My API key shouldn't have anything to do with the base map, I don't think. Maybe we needed to interact with it. Well, this is not what I was hoping to see, because I can't really. I was hoping to get either a fail or a success, so we could either problem solve or we could celebrate. This is like in between. This is, I don't know if it's a slow connection. This is, I don't know what we're not connecting on. And I probably shouldn't have done that, because now it's going to start from scratch again in terms of thinking. Let's turn the echoing off on this. Just, it's nice to have for problem solving, but I don't think we want that. We should be able to add that in our Quarto YAML. So we'll say execute echo false. And now, if we rerun that, let's rerun it anyway, because, we might have to actually change, some of the structure of this in terms of how shiny is being identified. Because to me, it looks a little funny. Like we might need. There's usually in RStudio there's a different interaction option with shiny products, and it's not a render. I think it's a run app that you usually see, and you usually call your file an app file. Now that's with the old way of doing things with a app.r script, not within a dashboard. So it's possible that this is the way it's supposed to look within a dashboard. So I probably have to stop this first, and then let's see if we can rerun it. And all I'm looking for here is a lack of echoing. We'll see if maybe those xylophone bars have stopped xylophoning. Now this horizontal, we're not getting the, it does say echo false. So, okay, so something weird is going on here. We're getting echoing where we shouldn't be getting echoing. Sometimes going back and forth between the visual and the source editor can screw things up. The runtime shiny. So this might be something that we take a look at across 2 different weeks. Okay, so yeah, there's something weird going on here. Just even in terms of the echoing alone. So let's waste a couple of prompts here. I don't want to go too long on this, but let's go ahead and waste a prompt and say that echoing is we're actually getting echoing on this. We're getting code echoing even though we have specified echo false in the YAML. YAML against the front matter, kind of the executive specifications of the document itself. Also, the app is stuck in a loading cycle. Nothing like giving the AI some unintelligible jargon, right? I shouldn't have used colloquial terms like a loading cycle. I don't know. Increasingly, you can talk to these, or you can converse with these in a truly conversational tone, but I don't know. It's probably not best practice, I'm guessing. Let's see if we've, no, still thinking. I'm really curious about that echoing, when we explicitly said no in two different spots, it can only be in the QMD. Oh, it's probably, is that what our source code is? Is that what it's pulling? I think it is. I think it's pulling the R script. So that's interesting. So we should, let's double check that. No, it is pulling from the QMD. So that's different. That's not what I suspected. That's different. So it is pulling from the QMD. So for whatever reason, our echo false is not being operative. So let's go back to Copilot, who is still thinking. Perhaps Copilot doesn't like feedback that says, hey, thanks a lot, but this didn't seem to work exactly as we thought it would. And of course it's not going to work immediately exactly as you thought it would. But now the neat thing is we do have base code that's not doing exactly what we want, but we can take it and tweak it. It's certainly a step above just writing that all by yourself. And see, this is the kind of, didn't tell me what change it's going to make. But this cycle of allowing and kind of reviewing of what it wants to do and then saying, okay, do that. I understand why it has to do that, especially with the way we're interacting with it when it's directly making changes to our repository, making contributions, and it's really, it's really a co-author on this. It truly is Copilot on this. Actually, Pilot more than Copilot. I'm kind of like Copilot. But it's wasting prompts. So you're going to run through your allotment pretty quickly if you're someone like me who's kind of living on the fringes and not fully jumping in with a full paid subscription. I'm kind of relying on the academic access. While we're waiting for it, it does reset every month. So that's another reason why we waited until today to do something like this, is it's a little closer to the end of the month. Now I do have a couple of other projects that I desperately need to get some momentum on, and so I was kind of hoping to use GitHub Copilot to help with those. Come on, man. Now I think you're just doing it to me. What do you mean? We already confirmed it. So I have been stuck in these loops a little bit with Copilot where, and maybe this is how I'm wasting prompts, but it's like, you got to confirm I can do this, but you didn't tell me what you're going to do, but okay, I confirm. If it comes back again with that same one, then, oh, okay, so it did. It did actually just kind of look internally in terms of what we have. Okay, so it's not just asking blankly for confirmation. It's actually it's asking for confirmation on something specific, but that something specific beforehand was just viewing files. So that, I don't know, that's a little fun. That's a little funny. But again, I'm a mere psychologist, so I don't understand these kind of developer systems. I am learning more about them as I am trying to as I am learning to incorporate reproducibility standards and practices and principles into my own work, because it seems like the tracking and the documentation and just the systems used by, for example, GitHub, are very much aligned with that, consistent with that, and supportive of that. Okay, so thanks. I expected summary of the problem. So code still appears in the rendered page because some chunks were not being hidden the way Quarto expects. Having chunk level echo settings is safer. I have never encountered that. So what it's saying is we should on each of these go in and do a hash pipe or octothorpe pipe, echo false. And it's saying that's more consistent than the line 5 specification in the YAML. I have never known. I mean, things are quirky, but I have never encountered that. That's something that I have not ever noticed. But okay, we can do that. App can say stuck loading when the document both specifies. Okay, so I was kind of curious about this. So there's maybe conflicting shiny calls in here, and that makes sense. So it's not making this change for me. It's saying go ahead and do this yourself. So I'm gonna copy this and just put it into the QMD. It looks like it's everything. So let's try that. Oh, nah. See, this is no good. So it didn't give me everything. It's giving me little bits, and they're broken up oddly. So why are you doing this? I don't even understand what. Okay, it's starting to piss me off now. So the beginning of this looks like a code chunk, and it's code, but it's breaking it up. It's breaking up in a very not useful or helpful way. So I thought I was supposed to just copy the whole thing. Obviously, that's not the case. So I'm going to undo what I previously did. And this is going to take forever to do this. I don't know if I want to take forever tonight here to do this. But we'll ask it one more thing. We'll say, hey, can you do it? Yes, please make these changes in the repository itself. Instead of me doing it, let's do that. I'm probably going to have a conflict now when we come back. Probably going to have a conflict now when we try to pull, because there's stuff that we changed, but we should be able to kind of force it. I think it's probably going to ask for another confirmation here, so we're gonna waste another prompt or two in terms of being lazy. So I could go in there and selectively copy and paste, but one of the reasons we're doing this from within the GitHub portal itself is to just kind of demonstrate that this is an option and that it has access to all the files in your repository, and it can actually change those files, which is pretty cool. Now, the other thing we could do is we could go in and reactivate GitHub Copilot through my RStudio IDE itself while it's thinking. I can just show you that if I can see where that is. I think it's probably in Tools. Global Options, Copilot. So I just have it disabled again because I'm mostly operating with document type things that I'm producing and not just script. If I was just working on straightforward analyses, if I was doing machine learning or ANOVAs, regressions, even bar graphs, histograms, things like that. If I was just doing that, I would probably have that enabled, but because I'm doing documents, it's been annoying. Um, I'm waiting for your confirmation. Yeah, I know you are. And all of these confirmations, pretty soon you're going to come back and say, you've confirmed too much, Kulas. You're cut off. See you again in August, sucker. It's a little nicer than that, but it could say something like that. Okay, done. Change the index, and that we are probably going to get a conflict on that, and saying what it did and why it did it. Then again, this is this. I forgot what I was going to say because I was kind of reading it. So we'll try a poll, and that poll is probably going to result in a conflict. And it does. I think I'm just going to do kind of the cheap thing here and say get rm. Let's do git status first, just make sure it's just that file. Oh, I forgot about our quarto YAML. Git. I think we just want to get rid of these. Speaking of git, let's just delete those. Let's see if we can do a poll. And we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't pull our YAML. That's okay. The YAML was only 2 lines anyway. So I'm going to create just a text file, and we'll actually save that as a YAML file. Let me go in to GitHub, and we'll go to our Tommy Boy repo, and I'm just going to double check that information in there was just 2 lines. Just a project specification. So paste that in. We'll save that as a YAML. I think they actually have, oh, they don't. There we go. Okay, so let's try our dashboard one more time. This now should be, let's try a poll again just to make sure. It should be the updated that GitHub Copilot updated. And I can see, you can just see from the structure that it's different. It doesn't have the, at the top, it doesn't have the commented out with a bunch of different package installations. So it looks like it did get rid of the echoing. So that's good. But no, nothing's echoed. Nothing is echoed. And when I say nothing is echoed, I just mean that everything is hidden. Okay, so we might have gone a step too far, and we'll see what was changed. What I changed, hit all code so it will not be echoed in the rendered page. Added knitter options. These are old R, that's the old R markdown approach. So on line 11 here, it's really, okay, it's interesting to me that it's following, why does it say include false? We don't want that. That's probably why, yeah. Let's try this. I don't know why why would you include false? That makes no sense. I'm going to change it just from KI, Kulas Intelligence, but after we change it and run it, we will go back and see what its explanation of that was. But to me, that's silly. And it's also silly that it falls back on the old R markdown specification of multiple chunk options through this opts _ chunk $set. And that's how we used to do it. That's how we used to do it in the old days. Now, currently, we do this. Okay, so something weird is happening because I'm at the preview looks completely different, even just from echoing, than the pop out. So we're hour and 23 in. What I will do is I will leave this as is for tonight. That is, I won't do anything else to it. And then next week we will take it from here and see if we can problem solve it to actually get the app to show up. I don't know how close we are because something goofy is going on just between the preview and the pop out. So this is something to me. This is something a little more than just the functionality of the app itself. So we're gonna have to resolve it next week. I promise not to problem solve it without you all being here. So, all right, thanks for being here. Sorry we did not get the app up and running tonight, but I'm going to keep it real time so you'll see how much time it actually takes for us to do the problem solve on this next week and get it up and working. If you want, you can go on to GitHub and pull it yourself and see what it looks like on your machine because that is a public repo. So it's available for anyone to go up there and pull. All right. See you next week, everybody, where we'll take this and we'll see if we can actually get it up and running.